see my screen? Can anyone see my
Yes, we
screen?
can. Yes, I can see it, Mr. Zhu.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Ming Chen. I'm from Power China. Today, my topic is about the green energy, which can promote Nigeria's sustainable development. My PPT, my presentation will be divided into 5 parts. The first is a brief introduction of our company, and then I will introduce a bit about Nigeria power system, and also the green energy outlook. And the fourth part is about the EPC and our financing experience uh, globally. And the last part is our commitment and recommendations for Nigeria, how we can develop clean energy in Nigeria. Okay, I will quickly go through our company profile. At Power China, the full name is Power Construction Corporation of China. We are an integrated construction group which provides investment and financing, planning, design, engineering, construction, equipment, manufacturing, and operation management for hydrologic and hydropower projects and different types of infrastructure projects. Our core business is in power, especially for clean energy power sectors. But we are also good at water ecological and environmental governance, and also the development and operation of other resources like real estate development and manufacturing and leasing of related equipment. And in Power China, we have different subsidiaries. In Nigeria, which we have Central Hydro, we have SEPCO and SEPCO 3. We also have High Pike and Yellow River, which are all operating in Nigeria now. Power China is a large group. In 2024, we ranked 108 among the global 500 fortune. We have 6 regional headquarters. In Africa, we have Central and West Africa region, which is based in Abidjan. And we also have East and Southern Africa, which the headquarters is based in Nairobi. And we also have the Middle East and North Africa region. The headquarters is based in Dubai. In Nigeria, we actually been here for about 20 years. Currently, to date, we have completed about 1.96 billion US dollar contracts, and we still have about 10 projects ongoing. The total contract value is about 700 million US dollar. We have 2 group representative office. One is in Abuja and the other is in Lagos. And we also registered about 7 localized companies who are responsible for the project's execution in Nigeria. And for some of the project reference in hydropower and solar power, in Nigeria, we built up Zungeru 700 megawatts hydropower plant in the past 10 years, which was completed 2023. And these projects, the annual power generated is about 26 billion kilowatt hours. And we are also working on Kaenji hydropower plant. We did the rehabilitation and expansion. We also carry out the Dadinkova hydropower plant. We are responsible for build up the powerhouse. And these are part of the projects we have done in China and in globally. In the UAE, we finished 117 megawatt wind farm plant. And in Laos, we have another farm of wind farm plants. The capacity is 600 megawatts. And also, we are working on the first international hydrogen project, which is based in Uzbekistan. The total capacity is 52 megawatts wind combined with 20 megawatts hydrogen. And the second part is our understanding of Nigeria power systems. Nigeria power systems they have divided into different sectors. For the generation sectors, is very privatized. We call it Janko. According to our acknowledgments, the total installed capacity is already over 17,000 megawatts. But the bottleneck is the transmission line. Although we have about 5,000 kilometers long high voltage transmission line, and we also have more than 6,000 kilometers of 120 kilovolts transmission line, but the total capacity is a bit narrow compared with generation one. And the capacity of the national grids is about 5,758. This data is in 2022, and now I think it has been increased a bit. And last year, I written a news that the total generation, the power executed is above 5,800 megawatt. So for Nigeria, I think there are two big challenges and problems. The first one, as I mentioned before, is a bottleneck because of transmission and distribution, and the other is a low accessibility to the power. According to the report from World Bank, it's only 60%, compared with Ghana and Senegal, it's a bit low. I think that also brings us the reason why today we're talking about green energy, because for solar, it's easy to increase the access to power. And the third part is about renewable energy outlook. I noticed that before some of the technical expertise has introduced the solar energy and the wind resources. So in my slides, I will highlight the hydropower outlook in Nigeria. In Nigeria, the potential installed capacity of all the river is more than 20,000 megawatts. Basically, the major river of Niger River and also Benue River. But now, all the hydropower plants we have built it, so the total installed capacity is only about 2,762 megawatts, which accounts only 13% of the total potential installed capacity. Power China, in the past several years, we have worked through the two major river business, and we have identified at least 3 greenfield hydropower plants, which can be developed, and it's very feasible in economical perspective. And the total capacity of these 3 greenfield power plants can be more than 3,000 megawatts. And also, with this multiple purpose dam, we can control the flood of the Benue River, which also very important, we think very important for Nigeria. And for solar and wind, I just skip it. And for hydrogen energy, because this is the future, so we just talk about a bit. As a virtual component of the future energy system, we believe it. And in global, the hydrogen demand could be 550 million tons, which accounts 18% of all the energy consumptions by 2015. And it can reduce in carbon emission about 6.5 billion tons. Some of the Nigeria companies, as far as we understand, they are already working and promoting hydrogen industry now. And then let's move on to the EPC and the financing cases. For Power China, we are quite flexible in the business model and partnership. We have completed the 2 concession facilities, and also we have our experience in the financing, which is supported by Sinosure. There are 3 models: the export buyer's credit, medium and long-term deferred payment, short-term deferred payment. And also the third methodology is financing supported by the third country ECAS, which we have our experience with the Spanish and also the British. And the last is financing supported by the multilateral financial institution. And I will show you some cases. The first case is about the concession loan and the preferential buyer's credit. We successfully implemented the Cotrori 315 megawatt solar park in Argentina, which is the highest altitude among Argentina operational solar assets. This one is concession loan provided by China Exim Bank. And we also finished Wangji coal-fired power project in Zimbabwe. The total capacity is 670. This is the first investment of our company in Africa region, and is also applied preferential bias credit. The third is Buwe Hydropower Station in Ghana. This is the first ever blended loan, combination of concession loan and commercial loan together. And for export bias credit, we have successfully implemented the first is in Serbia. It's the first metro project, and it's funded by the Dutch bank, covered by Sinosure. And the second one is a hydropower plant project, total capacity over 100 megawatts. This is the first ever FEPC project in the country, and this country also has no diplomatic relationship with China, but we still finish it, covered by Sinosure. The third one is the upgrading and maintenance of rural roads in Kenya. The contract consists of upgrading of the existing 90 kilometers of rural roads. This is the RMB, China Yuan's financing project. And the fourth is in Indonesia. This one is financed by the Japanese bank, also covered by Sinosure against commercial credit. These two projects are Sinosure covered long-term deferred payments, but also covered by the supplier's credit insurance, which PowerChina has great contribution to these two projects. The first one is road construction in Ghana, and the second one is dubbing cement project in Iraq. And then these two projects are also Sinosure covered long-term deferred payments, but it's covered by the refinancing insurance. The first one is a hydropower plant, 18 megawatts installation. It's BOC financing covered by Sinosure. And the second one is a mining project. It's CCB financing covered by Sinosure. And for renewable energy, this one is a short-term default payment in Vietnam. The total installed capacity is 350, which is already in operation since 2019. It is the world's largest submerged PV projects, and also the biggest solar project in Vietnam. And China Merchant Bank financing covered by Sinosure. And these two projects are financing supported by third country ECA. The first one is covered by the Spanish Export Credit Insurance Company, and the second one is covered by the UK Export Finance, which shows our flexibilities working together with other countries' ECA. And then supported by the multilateral financial institution. The first one is a wind farm. It's on the list of the Build and Roll initiative between China and the country. It's financed by the EBRD and Asia Investment International Bank. And second one is 600 megawatts wind farm in Laos. This is the first wind farm in Laos, which financed by the Asian Development Bank. And the last part is based on our understanding of Nigeria, we have some comments and recommendations to how develop renewable energy in China. And because that the China has made their client ambition summits in 2020, which close the ranks and make new advances in climate governance, we raise our ambition and fosters a new architecture of climate governance. And secondly, that in the last year, the Forum on China-African Cooperations, China and Nigeria has built up a high-level strategic mutual trust jointly to explore cooperation in areas such as digital economy, green development, blue economy, and agriculture modernizations. We encourage that flexible and diversified regional and monetary and financial cooperation. So we believe for the strategic between these two companies has already created a harmony ceremony or circumstances to develop new energies. In terms of some methods, the first one, the proven experience, we know that the green energy is developing fast. And it's easy to increase the power access rate. And for the skill development, because China has already built up the biggest value chain of clean energy. So with the technical transfer, we can transfer our management skills and also to train more engineers and create jobs and to bring more labor trainings. And the third one is technology transfer, not only on the perspective of the solar and the wind, but starting from the very beginning, we can make transfer about the master planning skill. Power China, every 5 years we are deeply engaged in the national master plan for clean energy in China. So we can also contribute that part to Nigeria. And also the system design, the plant operation and management skills. And eventually, we are hoping that the manufacturing industry can be put into ground in Nigeria. And the last one is sustainable financing. We believe that the recent cooperation between the countries can create affordable loan, especially the loan in China yuan, and also the public and private investment. Now in Nigeria, we all know that the new Electricity Act has already created a very opening market for everybody to come into and invest in Nigeria. And some recommendations according to our acknowledgement. In Nigeria, actually, we have very abundant resources in hydropower plant. For the greenfield multiple dams, it has multiple functions. For example, the flood control, power generation, and also benefits irrigation and navigation and the water supply. In this part, we believe that the federal government may need to contribute more because of dam safety and the controlling of the river basins. So we think that the federal government or the local government can contribute a bit about the dam, and the private companies can join into and build up the powerhouse. This kind of a PPP model, which we have some experience in Nigeria, and some people are working on that. And also it can be copied into the brownfield hydropower plant, like Dadinkowa I mentioned before. We use the existing transmission line, the existing dam there. We just need to build up the powerhouse, and the meantime, we can build up a solar power plants around the river basin, around the dam. In one hand, it can reduce the total investment because the transmission line, the substation are already there. And the other hand, we can save the water in dry seasons and to increase the capex. And the third part is about the dam safety. We noticed in Nigeria, a lot of dams are built up in 1960s or 70s. Right now, during these days, we need to upgrade and rehabilitate the dam, not only because of the dam has been, and not management very well in the past several years, but also because of the requirements for digitalization. And the last, we have some recommend for different types of projects. For example, the first one I just mentioned before, the hybrid solar system, which is a combination between the solar, wind, and the hydro. And also we can combine the solar with wind and battery systems. And the second one is distributed solar systems. For example, in some of the project we have done in Abuja, we build up a house-used distributed solar system. In one hand, we can reduce the diesel consumption, and the other hand, it's a very good practice for high quality use of the electricity. And also, we can help you on the solar battery system. We already put our battery products, equipments in Nigeria now. It's Power China brand. And also the floating solar, which can be used, for example, in Dadinkowa, KNG, and Zhongguo. If the land over the reservoir is quite, it's quite expensive, so we just build up a floating solar. And the last one is residential solar systems. And regards about the service, Power China, we can provide comprehensive power solutions, different hybrid systems. And also, as mentioned before, starting from the master planning to the feasibility study, the case studies, the feasibility studies, we can all take care of it. And we have engineers now in Nigeria. And the most important thing is our EPC services. As I introduced before, those financing projects, the major reason why Power China shall be engaged because our performance in the EPC, which guarantee that we can cover the risk of the building construction risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhu, for sharing your practical experience. And hopefully, there will be people here who would love to connect with you from Power China. I just want to go back to Dr. Guo. Do we have Dr. Chongyang Guo now from the State Key Laboratory of Renewable Energy and Energy Storage Operation Control, China
Okay.
Electric Power Research Institute?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the session on interpretation of grid connection standard for photovoltaic power plants. As global renewable energy transitions accelerate, photovoltaic power plants have become a cornerstone of the new energy system. However, the large-scale integration of PV power plants into traditional power grids brings unprecedented challenge in terms of safety and stability. To address this issue, technical standards for grid connection have emerged as critical guidelines that bridge the gap between PV resources and the grid infrastructure. Today we will introduce GEI international and regional grid connection standard, focusing on technical requirements for active power, reactive power, and voltage, fault rise rule, operational adaptability, power prediction, power quality, simulation models, and parameters. Through the introduction of the standard, we will explore how the standard responds to the technical advancement and the structural transformation of the energy. Let's begin the journey. This document specifies the required capability and performance criteria for photovoltaic power plants connecting to the power system operating at nominal frequency of 50 Hz, including but not limited to active power, reactive power, and voltage, fault rise rule, operational adaptability, power prediction, power quality, simulation models, and parameters, secondary systems, as well as testing and evaluation. PV power plants equipped with energy storage may refer to this standard for implementation. This standard has completed the review of the technical committee and is about to be released. Now I will introduce the standard in two parts: background and significance, main technical requirement. Background and significance. Over the past 5 years, the global grid connected scale of the photovoltaic power generation has grown rapidly. Among them, the scale of the grid connected PV power generation in China is particularly remarkable. At the end of the March 2025, the installed capacity of the photovoltaic power generation in China has reached 945 million kilowatts, making it the largest power source in terms of the installed capacity. Meanwhile, with the success operation of the ultra high voltage AC and DC project, the development model of the cross-regional transmission and the consumption of large-scale new energy bases in some countries through ultra high voltage AC and DC systems has been formed. Under the conditions of large-scale and high penetration access of the wind power and the photovoltaic power, the characteristics of the power system has undergone significant changes, and new security and stability issues have become increasing prominent. The standard mainly targets issues such as focusing regulation, fault rise-through, and weak grid adaptability in scenarios where a high potential of new energy is integrated into the power system. First, active power control and frequency response. Active power system should be capable of continuous smooth regulation of active power output and participation in power system active power control. The control modes of the active power control system of PV power plants show and last include active power limit control, active center point control, active power difference control, and frequency regulation control. When the frequency division in power system exceeds the dead bands of the primary frequency regulation, the PV power plants should adjust their active power output according to the formula. The PV inverters installed in PV power plants should allow the power actor to be dynamically adjustable within the range of 0.95 lead and 0.95 lag. Under the rated under-rated active power and also be dynamically adjustable within the frame shown in the figure. Fault rise rule. The PV power plant should remain connected and operational during voltage dips and the power system caused by system faults. Comply with under voltage rise rule performance characteristics defined in the figure. During PCC voltage raises caused by system faults, the PV power plants show over voltage rise through compatibility. The PV inverter and the reactive power compensation device in the PV power plant should be capable of operating normally when the voltage and the point of and the POC shorts within the range of 90% to 110% of the nominal voltage. When the flicker value, the harmonic value, and the three-phase voltage imbalance and the POC of a PV power plant meet the provisions in the requirements of the different countries and all regions. The PV inverter and reactive power compensation devices in PV power plants should be able to operate continually without disconnection from the grid. Power forecasting. The PV power forecasting system should at least have the medium term, short term, and auto short term PV power forecasting function. The forecasting time resolution should not be less than 15 minutes. PV power plant should report the medium term and short term PV power forecasting results to the power system dispatch organization twice a day, and report the ultra short term power forecasting result to the power system dispatch organization every 15 minutes. The PV power plant should automatically report the current total starting capacity to the power system dispatch organization every 15 minutes, and the measured date of the PV power plant every 5 minutes. Power quality should have the voltage division, voltage fluctuation, and the flicker, harmonics and interharmonics, voltage imbalance. Simulation model and parameters. The PV power plant should establish electromagnetic transit and electromagnetic transit simulation calculation models and parameters of PV inverter, reactive power compensation device, collection systems, and plant control system. And the model verification and accuracy evaluation shall be satisfactorily completed. When the PV power plant completes equipment modification, software upgrade, control logic modification, control parameter of protection setting modification. The PV power plant shall track the changes of the component models and parameters, and carry out new or additional model verification and accuracy evaluation. Secondary systems include relay protection and safety device, dispatching automation, and communication. Establish reliable communication channels. And the last is test and evaluation. Ensure the compliance and performance. Testing and evaluation. Conduct test before and after connection. Include power quality control and model verification. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Guo, for your insights. Very, very interesting presentation there. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to move to the next session, and our next session will be UNDP Energy Initiatives in Nigeria. We will hear from an expert from UNDP Nigeria Country Office. I just want to pause here to confirm if any of our colleagues from the UNDP Nigeria Country Office is here to provide this presentation. So Frank, can you let me know if...
Hi, Somnet. I'm afraid UNDP representative was not able to join us today, regrettably.
Okay, no problem. So I guess we're going to move to the next session then. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move to the final technical presentation of the day on investment and financing of renewable energy projects in Nigeria. I would like to call on Dr. Sulaiman Ibrahim, who's the CEO of Infrastructure Debt Fund at FSDH Asset Management Limited. So over to you, Dr. Ibrahim, please. Dr. Ibrahim, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. Let me try and share my screen. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Just confirm you can see my screen.
Not
Not
yet.
Okay, just put down. What about now?
coming
It's
up.
still loading. Yeah, it's come up now.
Yes.
Oh, just give me a few seconds to arrange myself. Okay, so is it good now?
Yes, we can see your screen, Dr. Ibrahim. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for the opportunity to have this contribution to this laudable assignment to improve access to energy in Nigeria. Like Riley said, I represent FSDH Asset Management Limited. I think it's important I speak about FSDH Asset Management Limited, which is the wholly owned subsidiary of FSDH Trading Company and one of the asset management financial advisory firms in Nigeria. Were established as a limited liability company in 2001, but prior to that, we were a department in First Credit Discount House, which is now FSH Merchant Bank from 1997. So cumulatively, we have over 20 years experience in this space. We provide versatile financial and investment solutions that meet the needs of investors in emerging economy like Nigeria and of course to our Nigerian citizens in diaspora. And we have a wide range of products and services for client-specific financial goals and accurate profiling. It is important to state that as of today, we have about 220 billion naira under asset under management. And more interestingly, we recently launched the Series 1 of our infrastructure debt fund, which is designed with the objective to provide long-term tenor debt instruments support infrastructure development, which is very critical to the conversation that we're having today, because one of the challenges that we tend to have with financing infrastructure really is about the affordability constraints, right? And it is estimated that by 2040 we'll require about $15 trillion to close the funding gap of infrastructure globally. And of course, the most need is also in the emerging economies and markets, which Africa and Nigeria in particular falls into. And listening to all the contributions on the technical side, it is clear that what we need to deal with, contend with when it comes to infrastructure and power specifically is very huge in Nigeria. Depending on whose numbers you are taking, at best we'll probably be able to wheel about 4,500 megawatts on our transition grid, even though we have the stock capacity of closer to 20,000 megawatts, right? If you then consider what we do as individuals in country to support or augment the failings of the grid, we probably have a capacity that is closer to 40,000 megawatts. And it can't dispute that really, because for the economy that is started to be the top 3 in Africa, for it to support that kind of GDP growth, we probably need that level of power to energy access to support it. But we also know that despite the financing and affordability constraint, there is still a lot of financing available. But what we tend to suffer from is finding bankable projects that you can then trust and support with the investment. So, and what this really says that we have a lot of private capitals looking for projects to invest in, but you struggle with finding investment grade pipelines that can make them become bankable and project that we can invest in. And one particular challenge that you find is being able to define a clear and sustainable revenue stream to ensure repayment. But again, there are models and instruments that have been devised to structure such transactions, which I'll come to later in the course of the presentation, to significantly de-risk them and then mitigate the fear of them carrying higher investment risk. Closer to home is the decarbonizing infrastructure in which is critical to achieving climate goals. You agree with me that Africa contributes less than 5% of the global CO2 emission, but we carry the burden of the global CO2 emission, right? And because of that, our experience as a population is particularly challenged because now that we want to invest or we are aspiring to develop as other nations have developed, we then face the issues around how green and how clean are the sources that we want to use to then take the leap into a developed economy. So it is critical that whatever it is that we are doing, we are aligning with global climate objectives and ensuring equitable resilience. Then there's also the challenge of physical and cybersecurity risk, which are a growing concern. And of course, you also agree that when it comes to adoption of technology in the infrastructure space, engineering and construction sector remain the least to be discussed. And with limited integration of infratech in projects and planning projects. So what we really say is that if you conceptualize these 5 major highlights in terms of challenges for infrastructure, you get the points around why it's important for us to start considering greening our infrastructure and looking for sustainable sources of energy, in particular for Africa, Nigeria as a focal point. Now, I think it's also important that I clearly distinguish between funding and financing and what they mean. So I've written here that funding means providing money for a specific purpose, usually in the form of a grant, investment, or capital injection. And the source could be investor, it could be donors, it could be government program, or venture capitalists. However, it is also important to highlight that it doesn't imply repayment, especially in case of grants or equity investments. Financing, on the other hand, means raising capital, typically through debt or equity, to support the activities of a business. The source is often from banks, pension funds, credit institutions, and other such credit providing agencies. And it often implies borrowing or structural capital, which mostly needs to be repaid. So when we're having this conversation about access to capital, access to finance and funding, or basically let's break that to even calling it money, it needs to be clear around whether it's funding or financing and application of both. Please confirm you can see my screen and you can also hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see your screen, Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much. So bringing it closer home, as of the latest report, which is the numbers of 2023, multilateral development banks globally combined contributed about $125 billion or maybe about $125 billion available for climate finance, which essentially means climate or green projects that will impact the climate. And out of this 125 billion climate finance in 2023, 77.7 billion was for mitigation finance and 47.3 billion was for adaptation finance. And of the 4.7 billion of MDB climate finance was provided for low-income and middle-income economies, where Nigeria falls and a lot of the African countries also is in that zone or bracket. We also discovered that 47.3 billion was for climate change mitigation finance and 3 billion was for climate change adaptation finance. So what this says really is that even when we are then conceptualizing our propositions as regards to green energy or renewable energy sources, we also need to be clear around where the money is going after. So the more investment it chases around climate change mitigation finance, while very little, about just 4% or 3%, is focused on adaptation finance. So I would say that in planning out your investments, you should focus more on projects that will focus around climate change mitigation as against adaptation, because you have much more capital available for such type of projects. Then, out of this money, about 28.5 billion was also mobilized for private finance by the MDBs. And going forward, the MDBs aim to increase annual climate finance to about 120 billion by 2030. So again, this just speaks to the fact that there is a lot of capital available. You just need to ensure that you prove your projects and make it bankable. Now, with respect to funding sources, it is usually the challenge that most projects have. Funding sources for renewable energy projects are diverse and include a mix of public, private, and hybrid financial means. And then, specifically, the most you get when it comes to renewable energy projects, we've tried to categorize them into 5 sources, which include the public and multilateral funding programs. And an example of that is Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa, SEFA, which is the brainchild of the African Development Bank, and it provides catalytic finance, technical assistance, and concessional loans to unlock private sector investments in renewable energy and energy efficiency in Africa. What this really means is that the ADB has a dedicated fund that is focused towards enhancing renewable energy and energy efficiency investments or programs in Africa. We also have donor finance programs such as the Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund, AECF, which is funded by entities like SIDA, FCDO, IFC, EU, and others. And it offers seed funding, pilots, and R&D, which is research and development, working capital, zero interest loan, and guarantees for renewable energy manufacturing and distribution projects. We have the EEA grant support, which increases renewable energy shares to meet EU climate targets. And here you have opportunity to create projects that can then be used to offset carbon trading in the European Union, because there is a limit to the capacity that they can achieve. So the newer capacity to incubate and develop in developing economy, and they can use this to offset their own targets, objectives in the EU. They have agencies like the World Bank and other ideas of ported program like Assets, which use results-based financing to drive investment in renewable energy assets across multiple countries, linking disbursements to verify outcome and attract international funding. This is what agencies like REA in Nigeria does with the programs like the solar home systems, where the disbursement of fund is linked to the outcome of the coverage and success of the project after they've been audited. So that is one big source of funding. We also have another source which is the project finance and private sector financing. And I try to describe what project finance is, which I stated to be a common funding structure where loans are secure against the future cash flow of renewable energy projects rather than the sponsor's balance sheets. And what this really does is that traditionally, what you tend to find is that when you want to access credits, you have to bring collateral, right? And some of the institutions that are providing these credits typically will ask you for maybe 1.5 or 1.6x, and in value. And perhaps if you have this, you probably wouldn't want to approach them in the first instance. So what the project financing then does for you is that if you're able to prepare your project in a manner that the future cash flow convinces potential investors or lenders or credit grantors, then they can take that projects are supported based on the predictable future cash flow. And given the energy gap in Nigeria, a well-prepared project, renewable energy projects, can give you that kind of access to funding. And I also indicated here that this off-balance sheet financing spread repayment over the project lifecycle, but may involve higher risk that require contractual risk mitigation. And that is where the benefit of having technical experts to support your project development. Like we commonly hear, nothing is really new under the sun. Whatever it is that you are trying to do now, perhaps has been done by experts in other jurisdictions and probably have already encountered the potential challenges and issues that may arise in course of your project, and they can then provide a proper mitigation. And you might even also then be able to enhance your project by bringing credit enhancement entities into the conversation. In Nigeria, one very good example would be when the name comes to mind, infra credit, right? They can support with enhancing, guaranteeing projects, and then ensuring that they're able to close on your financing and then deliver and then develop the project. Then, of course, we also have debt financing, mezzanine financing, and private equity, which are also sources of, and of course, commercial industrial solar projects. In markets like Nigeria can access dedicated debt facilities, such as those offered by Trine via Power like Odyssey Energy Solution. Again, there are structures that you can use to ensure that you provide your potential investors with enough comfort to be able to then advance or grant you credits to take your project forward. And one simple example would be maybe domiciliation of collection through them, so that you can see the flow of revenue as you are delivering services, and they can then ensure that it's ring-fenced and they get their portion and you get your portion as agreed in your contractual agreement. Of course, you can also leverage grants and incentives. I think I spoke to this earlier. Performance-based grants and subsidies are specifically available for mini grids and standalone projects in Nigeria. I mentioned the example of the Rural Electrification Project, Electrification Agency, and their mini grid performance-based grants and minimum subsidy tender programs. And those grants usually target early-stage development phases like feasibility studies, pilot projects, core financial requirements to leverage additional investment. Now, I think I need to speak to this more, because part of the issues that we have, remember, and as a challenge, is the fact that we have capital, right? But we don't find bankable projects. Now, this type of grants can help potential developer of projects or promoters of projects to be able to prepare their projects rigorously, diligently, to the point that by the time they are presenting it to potential investors, lenders, they will have ticked all, if not most, if not all of the critical requirements around the project feasibility, the technical feasibility, the legal and regulatory requirements, and of course, the commercial market acceptability or viability of the project. So, grants and incentives, like the type offered by RE, is able to assist potential promoters to develop their projects very well. Then we have innovative and market-based instruments, renewable energy credits, like distributed renewable energy credits and peace renewable energy credits, monetize renewable energy generation to attract corporate buyers and increase financial effectiveness in fragile emerging markets. Again, the example I gave earlier around trading carbon credits is one good example that fits in here. So in addition to generating energy using sustainable or renewable means, you can also trade the carbon credit that you accumulate to get additional income or revenue to offset the investment into your projects. Then, of course, the usual one, loan from banks and financial institutions, seed funding, R&D grants, and working capital, all are sources of funding that you can access for the purpose of developing your projects. Then, I also would like to make a distinct definition or description that was sustainable financing versus financing sustainability. And I wrote here to say that sustainable financing, which is the greening of financial system, integrating climate, environmental, social factors into mainstream financial decision making, establishes green financial market frameworks, ESG governance, strategy, metrics and targets, compliance and disclosure requirements and reporting, risk assessment and management, establishing management and monitoring system, management of climate-related financial risk, and establishing green banks. Essentially, what this is saying is that the world today, above and beyond the technical and commercial viability of projects, also have other considerations that you need to include in your framework of assessing projects, right? No matter that they become sustainable and they tick all of these boxes. Then, if you contrast that with financing sustainability, this essentially is mobilizing financing to environmental and social projects and addressing market barriers and risks. And this will include raising debt and equity to pay for green infrastructure, new building, or refinancing. So today we have about things like green bond, blue bond. These are financing sustainability. You say design. It also talks about design, development, and mainstreaming of green and social guarantee instrument facilities. Pricing climate risk and new technology risk and immature business models, compliance with green taxonomies, incorporating ESG standard into asset evaluations, aligning projects' financial terms and contracts to meet desired environmental outcomes, buying and selling green technology infrastructure companies and physical assets. Now, what this is pointing out is that there are considerable consideration to the implication of the impact of projects on the environment, social economy, and of course governance. So ESG is no longer just a buzzword; it's happening and it's critical. And if you take advantage of sustainable financing to ensure to then finance sustainability, it's going to be a win-win for you and of course for all of us as global citizens. And in Nigeria, there can't be a better time to take advantage of that. And having said that, some of the examples or agencies or framework that you see are things like the Equator Principle, Principle for Responsible Investment, and TCFD. Now, all of these are also some of the things that have started becoming critical parameters for institutional lenders and MDBs. So, in designing your project, you need to take critical assessment, these factors, to ensure that you meet all of these requirements. Now, if you give me time, I will speak to what we can do for you as FSDH, as an ecosystem. FSDH has 5 subsidiaries in the financial market sector, and we someone's please mute yourself. And we, as an ecosystem, we're able to provide you pool funds from institutional investors to provide significant investments. We support projects with capital that matches the life cycle of assets. Like I said earlier, we have an infrastructure fund that can give you up to 10 years tenure for investments, which is something that is rare in our climate here. We can provide operational oversight, performance monitoring, and strategic guidance to maximize project success. This is critical to us because when we invest, you want to ensure that you do the right thing with the investment. So we follow our investment. We also offer specialized funds aligned with renewable energy goals, and we provide innovative instruments to de-risk currency mismatch, common with FDI and MDB financing. Now, this is very critical, especially when you are getting your capital from overseas into the Nigerian market. We know how unreliable the naira can be against the dollar, but most times your revenue will also not be in naira, right? We're able to provide you with innovative instruments to ensure that at any given time you have a reasonable headroom between your obligation to your lenders who are from overseas, and then also be able to execute your projects in Nigeria. So we are available to provide such type of instruments and have similar conversation with you. And as part of our ecosystem also, our bank can efficiently manage your revenue receipts and disbursement of funds, can support in managing currency risk, assist with liquidity planning, interest optimization, and short-term investment of idle funds where you have such, and can connect you to local investors and off-takers to accelerate project execution. Having said this, I believe that every investor and every promoter will always have that point where you need to bring other parties into the room and conversation. Our investment banking have experience in providing investment banking advisory services and can sit with you in the course of your journey, either as a lender into Nigeria projects or as a promoter who wants to access lending from investors abroad or even locally. On that note, I'd like to say thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim. Thank you very much for those insightful remarks about sustainable financing and innovation, as well as giving us highlighting the financial landscape of opportunities, and finally ending up with the value proposition that FSDH has. I'm sure there will be a lot of developers in the room today who will be reaching out to FSDH to try to access some of those products. As we approach the end of today's program, I'd like to invite Mr. Frank Wang, who's the Director of Planning and Coordination Operation Bureau of GuideCo, to deliver the closing remarks, please.
Okay.
Thank
Hello?
you, Dr. Ibrahim. You can stop sharing your screen.
I'm trying to unshare now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. This is Frank. Thank you so much, Sumkele, for your wonderful moderation. And dear participants, dear friends, it has been a very productive training session today. And it's my great pleasure to deliver closing remarks and to wrap up this training session. This training session on renewable energy project development in Nigeria was led by Global Energy Interconnection Development and Cooperation Organization, GEDCO, and jointly organized with the Metis Capital Partners, United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, UNSDSN, C4O, the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, REAM, and Clean Energy Ministerial's Renewable Energy and Regional and Global Interconnection Initiative, and as well as the Paris Capacity Building Network, TCCB network. My special thanks goes to Gobolan Okunuga from Metis Capital. I'm not sure if you are online, but I thank you very much for your help and coordination all the way to make this wonderful session happen. In this session, 5 distinguished experts delivered insightful lectures on key topics, including renewable energy technologies and solutions, resource assessment, grid integration standards, project development, and financing models. Both myself and all participants benefited greatly from your expertise. On behalf of all co-organizers, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all our experts or speakers for your outstanding contributions. This training attracted participants not only from Nigeria, but also from other African countries, amplifying its impact across the region and successfully achieving its intended objectives. Dear friends, this training program represents a critical step toward ensuring reliable and sustainable energy in Nigeria. Through the collaborative efforts of co-hosting organizations, we believe this session has empowered key stakeholders with the skills and knowledge needed to transform the energy landscape, fostered a network of professionals and institutions, and contributed to the clean and sustainable energy development of Nigeria. For a long time, my organization, GADCO, has been dedicated to advancing global energy transition and green low-carbon development. We actively participate in international capacity building and knowledge-sharing initiatives, systematically and professionally delivering energy and power training programs worldwide, particularly for developing regions. Since last year, we have organized nearly 20 international training programs, attracting over 5,000 participants from more than 70 countries. These programs cover critical areas such as energy planning, power technologies, clean energy financing, and project development, and effectively enhancing countries' energy transition capabilities and self-driven development capacity with remarkable results. Here, I would like to share with you an upcoming event, which is scheduled for tomorrow, Friday, May the 16th, Beijing time from 4 to 6 p.m. GADCO will co-host a virtual inauguration of the PCCB Energy Cluster with the UNFCCC, officially establishing the Energy Cluster with GADCO as the convener. Moving forward, GADCO looks forward to strengthening collaboration with all stakeholders in energy transition, capacity building, supporting sustainable energy development across nations and regions. So on behalf of all of our co-hosting organizations, I thank again all our experts, our participants, and friends. Thank you very much. Back to you, Songkile.
Thank you, Mr. Frank, for those closing remarks. Thank you once again to all our speakers, co-hosting partners, and participants who have made this training program a success. We hope that today's session has enhanced your understanding of renewable energy deployment in Nigeria and opened up new opportunities for collaboration. We encourage all the participants to stay connected, to continue the dialogue, and work together to accelerate Nigeria's clean energy transition. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you so
much.
Very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Au revoir.